Have you noticed how nobody really thinks anymore? We scroll, we consume, we react. But do we truly think? You wake up, reach for your phone, and before your eyes can even focus, TikTok is already spoon-feeding you someone else's opinion. You call it entertainment, but it's sedation. Someone else pays for a fleeting moment of digital intimacy on OnlyFans, mistaking loneliness for connection. Another buries their mind in the dopamine loops of porn, confusing pleasure for purpose. You think you're choosing, but you're not. You're being chosen. Every swipe, every click, every microsecond of attention is harvested, engineered, and sold back to you in the form of illusion. This isn't freedom. This is the death of critical thinking and the birth of collective stupidity. But here's the terrifying part. This decay didn't start with the algorithm. It started with you, with your refusal to sit alone with your own thoughts, with your surrender of discomfort, the very soil in which wisdom grows. Carl Jung and Nietzsche saw this coming, long before the internet even existed. And if you don't wake up soon, you'll become exactly what they feared. You wake up, and before your feet even touch the floor, your thumb is already moving. The morning light hasn't fully broken, but your mind is being flooded. TikTok clips, Instagram reels, notifications, half-baked opinions dressed up as wisdom. The modern human doesn't greet the day anymore. They scroll into it. You chase the next hit of dopamine before your brain even remembers what silence sounds like. And it feels harmless, doesn't it? A video here, a meme there, a quick scroll before breakfast. But that little jolt of satisfaction, that flicker of false engagement, is no accident. It's chemistry, it's conditioning. Every platform is a laboratory, and you are the experiment. Your attention is the specimen being dissected for profit. Every laugh, every gasp, every click, recorded, measured, and used to keep you coming back for more. You think you're in control, but you're not. You're addicted. Not to substances you can see or smell, but to something more invisible, more respectable: distraction. This is the new addiction of the 21st century. Clean, convenient, and socially accepted. You can indulge in it anywhere. No one will judge you for it. But it's the most dangerous of them all because it doesn't destroy your body instantly. It slowly corrodes your capacity for presence. It eats away at your ability to focus, to reason, to reflect. You tell yourself you're just relaxing, but what you're really doing is abandoning yourself. You're outsourcing your attention to machines designed to strip it from you. The modern world is an infinite buffet of shallow pleasures. Short-form content engineered to hijack your reward system. Endless subscriptions that package stimulation as satisfaction. We don't chase meaning anymore. We chase novelty. And the cost of that chase is the muscle of your mind, your ability to sit with a thought until it becomes an insight. And then there's the illusion of intimacy, the counterfeit connection that sells itself as love. OnlyFans, cam sites, digital validation, the new temples of loneliness. You can pay for attention now, rent affection by the minute, and mistake the exchange for closeness. You can have the image of desire without the risk of rejection. You can simulate intimacy without the courage of vulnerability. Instant reward. No effort, no depth. But the more you feed on illusion, the more it reshapes you. You don't become emptier. You become less human. Your instincts warp. Your desires shrink. You begin confusing stimulation with fulfillment, forgetting there's a difference at all. And that difference is devastating. Carl Jung warned of this long before screens were even imagined. He called it the mass psyche, the moment when individuals lose their inner voice because the noise of the collective drowns it out. In his time, the collective was society, tradition, religion, politics. But today, it's something far more insidious, something tailored to you. Today, the collective unconscious isn't just a myth or a dream of shared archetypes. It's the algorithm, a machine that feeds you what you already crave, narrowing your world until it becomes a cage disguised as a mirror. It doesn't just reflect who you are. It edits you into who it needs you to be. The same jokes, the same outrage, the same recycled pleasures over and over again. We've become synchronized in stupidity, unified not by wisdom, but by distraction. And yet, you can feel it, can't you? That faint ache in the back of your mind when the screen goes dark. That quiet, guilty whisper that says, I could be doing something else, something real. That's your inner self, the part of you begging to breathe again. But you silence it with another scroll, another video, another hit of artificial purpose. If everyone is addicted to the same shallow distractions, who is left to think deeply? Who will ask the hard questions? Who will doubt the narrative? Who will dare to stand still in a world spinning out of control? The tragedy isn't that we've lost the ability to think. It's that we've forgotten why thinking matters. We've traded curiosity for convenience, reflection for reaction, and now we don't form opinions. We inherit them. This is how civilizations collapse. Not in fire, but in apathy. Not when people are silenced, but when they stop caring to speak. You weren't born to be another echo in the noise. You were born to listen. To the quiet voice inside that questions, that doubts, that seeks truth even when it's uncomfortable. But the longer you drown that voice in distraction, the more it fades. And one day, you'll wake up, surrounded by screens, bathed in light, and realize the darkness isn't out there. It's in you. That's the cost of distraction, and it's a price we're all paying. One scroll at a time. You can't think deeply in a world that never shuts up. Critical thinking doesn't grow in noise. It grows in silence. It requires stillness, reflection, and the courage to sit with your own unease. But in today's world, discomfort is treated like a disease. The instant tension creeps in, you reach for the screen, a scroll, a swipe, a tap, anything to numb the ache. Your attention has become allergic to stillness. You fill every pause with pixels, waiting in line, scroll, sitting alone, music, sad, video, angry, meme. You never let your thoughts mature. You suffocate them under distraction. You don't allow yourself to feel, you simply anesthetize. You don't think. You react. Critical thinking once meant wrestling with paradox, embracing doubt, sitting in the fire of discomfort until it became understanding. But now, we've built an empire of convenience, where every flicker of unease is instantly drowned in stimulation. And the result is a generation that cannot endure the silence required to create meaning. Nietzsche saw this coming long before smartphones. He called it the age of the last man. The last man is not cruel, not wicked, but worse, indifferent. He no longer strives, no longer questions, no longer hungers for transcendence. He seeks only comfort, safety, and shallow joy. He blinks his way through existence, content to stay small. That blink, Nietzsche warned, is the death rattle of the human spirit. Look around you. We are surrounded by last men and last women, eyes glazed by the glow of screens, not toppled by catastrophe, but tranquilized by convenience. The prophecy fulfilled not through tyranny or famine, but through endless entertainment. Every app is a cathedral of complacency. TikTok loops that dissolve attention spans into dust, pornography that trades intimacy for impulse, subscription feeds that offer escape instead of purpose. Nietzsche feared humanity would cease striving for greatness, and we've answered by embracing mediocrity, proudly hypnotized by the rhythm of our own distractions. We were meant to evolve into creators of meaning, wrestlers of chaos, beings that dared to transcend our limits. Instead, we've regressed into a childlike state, pacified by algorithmic lullabies. Every machine whispers, "Don't worry, I'll think for you." And we obey, surrendering the most sacred human act, the ability to question reality. This isn't progress, it's the quiet burial of the spirit. Critical thinking is rebellion. It's the refusal to be spoon-fed ideas. It's the fire that burns through deception. But rebellion requires three things: modern life drains from you daily. Energy, focus, and courage. You are constantly stimulated, yet rarely awake. Constantly informed, yet barely enlightened. And here's the cruelest irony. You know it. You feel it. That sharp ache where curiosity used to be. That hunger for understanding you once had. But every time it rises, you smother it with another scroll. You dull your guilt with noise, your fear with distraction, your boredom with synthetic joy. Ask yourself, when was the last time you let yourself be bored? Truly bored, without reaching for a screen. When was the last time you let your thoughts hurt and chose to face them instead of running away? You don't remember, do you? Because the muscle has atrophied. The machine erased it. And yet, buried beneath the noise, there is still a spark. A quiet rage that whispers, I'm wasting my potential. That is the last ember Nietzsche hoped would survive. The world wants to smother it, but you can feed it. You can turn your guilt into clarity, your anger into power. You've been tricked into believing thinking is exhausting, that it's easier to trust the crowd, the trend, the algorithm. But critical thinking isn't a burden, it's liberation. It separates the creator from the consumer, the free from the enslaved. Today, we consume more data in a single morning than ancient philosophers encountered in a lifetime. Yet we grasp less. We're flooded with information, but parched for wisdom. We can repeat quotes we've never wrestled with, borrow ideas we've never earned. This is how empires rot. Not with foreign armies at the gate, but with citizens who no longer ask why. When comfort becomes our god, truth becomes irrelevant. You feel it, don't you? That frustration, that sense your life is being diluted. Your mind, once sharp, now fractured into 1,000 dopamine shards. That isn't depression, that's your deeper self, screaming to be free. Rebellion doesn't always mean protest. Sometimes, rebellion is silence. Turning the phone off. Reading something that challenges you, questioning the sacred. Daring to think when everyone else is performing intelligence for attention. We were not born to blink through existence. We were born to see, to question, to wrestle with reality, to think. But that only begins once we face what we've become. Not yet the gods Nietzsche dreamed of, but children rocking ourselves to sleep with endless distraction. And the longer we postpone rebellion, the louder the machine grows, feeding on the silence of those too afraid to think. Here's the trap. The quiet, brilliant, devastating trap. Distraction doesn't just steal your time, it retrains your mind. Every scroll, every click, every clip teaches your brain that silence is pain, and stimulation is salvation. You don't just crave noise anymore. You fear its absence. You've felt it, the subtle panic when nothing's playing in the background, when the room is still. Your hand twitches toward the phone. That's not restlessness. That's programming. You've been rewired to reject stillness itself. And here's the consequence. Once silence becomes unbearable, depth becomes impossible. Your mind stops seeking understanding and starts chasing the fastest hit of validation. You're no longer thinking, you're reacting. Carl Jung warned, people don't have ideas, ideas have people. But today, it's not even ideas that possess us. It's fragments, memes, hashtags, sound bites, viral noise disguising itself as thought. You see a phrase online, repeat it in conversation, and feel original. But you're not creating, you're transmitting. The modern psyche is a megaphone for borrowed slogans. This is how collective stupidity begins, not with tyranny, but with imitation. At first it feels harmless, everyone laughing at the same joke, sharing the same outrage, using the same words. It feels like unity, but slowly, belonging replaces understanding. Dissent feels dangerous. Conformity feels safe. The hive mind doesn't think. It echoes. It punishes difference, rewards mimicry, and baptizes agreement as intelligence. What looks like insight is just a million mirrors reflecting the same shallow image, and the system thrives on it. A society of individuals is unpredictable. A synchronized swarm is manageable. When everyone moves in the same rhythm, control becomes effortless. You think you're connecting, but you're merging. You think you're informed, but you're being shaped. You think you're thinking, but you're just repeating. That's the cruelty of collective stupidity. It feels intelligent. You can quote data, reference studies, join the debate, but if you never question the foundations, it isn't thought, it's mimicry in costume. The internet has turned intelligence into theater. People perform cleverness for applause, confuse validation with wisdom, and mistake agreement for truth. But intelligence that depends on approval isn't intelligence. It's submission. Look closer and you'll see it everywhere. Voices defending ideas they've never examined, attacking anything that threatens their comfort, mocking silence because it terrifies them. That isn't education. It's indoctrination by convenience. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. That recognition, that flash of awareness, is rebellion. Because most will never see. They'll laugh at what they don't understand, sneer at silence, defend the very machine that controls them. They'll call you pretentious, cynical, paranoid, because they've already fused with the hive. You're surrounded by people who appear alive, but think collectively. They are a single organism speaking through a million mouths, and the hive is expanding. So the question is simple. Will you dissolve into it, or will you resist? Because in a world where conformity is automatic, the rarest and most dangerous act left is to think. The world will not save you. The herd will not think for you. If you want to escape this machinery of distraction and decay, you must become what Nietzsche demanded, who you truly are. Become who you are. Not a slogan, a declaration of war. Nietzsche saw it clearly. Most people never live as themselves. They exist as reflections, stitched together from borrowed morals, recycled opinions, and the approval of others. And the moment you dare to step outside that comfort, the herd will turn on you. Because your individuality threatens their unity. Carl Jung knew this too. He called the journey individuation, a confrontation with everything you've hidden from yourself, the shadow, the shame, the suppressed hunger for truth. It is not a pleasant road, it is brutal. To separate from the herd is to wrestle with your own darkness, the part of you that begs for comfort, applause, belonging. Only by facing it can you begin to live as an individual. That is the price of freedom. You must break the spell of collective impulses that keep the masses docile. You must become dangerous again, not violent, but awake. And the way out is not comfort, it is discipline, not trends, not inspiration, but fire. Acts of rebellion that purify the mind and restore the self. Abstinence is not punishment. It is purification. Strip away the poisons. Deny the drip of digital dopamine. Delete the apps. Cancel the subscriptions. Refuse the rented affection. The silence will hurt at first, like detox always does. But that pain is proof of possession breaking. Attention is your most sacred resource, and when you take it back, you reclaim the throne of your own mind. We've been taught to fear discomfort, but discomfort is the forge. Sit alone in silence until the chaos inside you burns itself into clarity. Let boredom gnaw at you until creativity fights its way out. Write what you cannot say. Feel what you cannot numb. Pain is not the enemy. It is the path. The herd runs from the fire. You must walk into it. Stop feeding on shallow streams of content. Immerse yourself in works that wound and transform. Nietzsche, Jung, Dostoevsky, Marcus Aurelius. Voices that refuse the comfort of the crowd. Don't just collect their words like ornaments. Wrestle with them. Reflect until their meaning cuts you open. Reading without reflection is consumption. Reading with reflection is rebirth. Pleasure is cheap. Purpose is costly. But only purpose has weight. Nietzsche called it the will to power, not domination over others, but mastery over the self. Jung saw it as integration, light and shadow united in conscious action. Purpose is the weapon that kills distraction. When your life bends towards something greater than craving, the machine loses its hold. This is the path back to yourself. It is not glamorous. It is not easy. You will lose people. You will be misunderstood. But the herd cannot understand solitude. They survive only in numbers. You don't, and that is your power. When you no longer seek validation, you become dangerous to systems that depend on your obedience. When you choose silence over noise, reflection over reaction, you become unpredictable. And the machine cannot control what it cannot predict. The world does not need more opinions. It needs more individuals. People who think without permission, who feel without drowning, who refuse to collapse into the herd. That's what Nietzsche meant by becoming who you are. That's what Jung meant by individuation. It is a loneliness, but a sacred loneliness. Because in that solitude, you stop echoing and start resonating. Remember this: collective stupidity thrives on fear and conformity, but it only takes a handful of minds, fully awake, to break the illusion. Be one of them, because only individuals strong enough to think alone will survive the tide of collective stupidity, and when that tide finally breaks, it will not be the herd who rebuilds, but the rare, the awake, the dangerous few. The death of critical thinking doesn't look like oppression. It doesn't wear chains or carry guns. It doesn't storm your home or burn your books. No, it looks like pleasure. It looks like endless scrolling. It looks like you laughing at a glowing screen while the invisible strings tighten around your mind. It looks like convenience, like algorithms that know you better than you know yourself, like entertainment so constant, so seductive, that you forget what silence feels like. The death of critical thinking doesn't come as tyranny. It comes as comfort. It doesn't silence you. It distracts you until you no longer notice your own silence. And the question is, will you wake up before it's too late? Because make no mistake, there is a war for your attention, your perception, your reality. Every scroll is a surrender, every click a compromise. You are being trained to obey without realizing it, to confuse stimulation for freedom, reaction for thought, and comfort for meaning. That's what my book, The Dark Thread We've All Been Tied To, is about. It's about those invisible strings that run through everything you do. The manipulation you can't see, the power you don't notice, the influence you never question. It's about the psychological machinery behind collective stupidity, the subtle architecture of control that makes you believe your choices are your own. But most importantly, it's about how to cut the thread. You'll learn how to spot the patterns, decode the manipulation, and reclaim the most endangered thing left in this world, your mind. Because once you see the thread, you can't unsee it. You'll begin to notice it in politics, in media, in relationships, even in your own thoughts. And that's when the transformation begins, when you realize how deep the programming runs. I could give this information for free. I've thought about it, but here's the truth. Free wisdom is rarely valued. People throw away what costs them nothing. History has shown this over and over again. When something is free, it's consumed, not respected. When something costs even a little, it becomes a choice, a commitment. So I've put a small price tag on it. Nothing more than a cup of coffee. $10. $10 to see the systems designed to control you. $10 to understand the forces shaping your thoughts. $10 to start cutting the strings. You've spent more than that on meaningless subscriptions, fast food, digital fantasies, things designed to numb you. Isn't it time you spent something on waking up instead? The link is in the pinned comment. This isn't another self-help book. It's a field manual for mental freedom. You'll understand how modern propaganda is disguised as entertainment, how social media engineers emotion, and how to rebuild your ability to think like an individual in a world that punishes difference. But here's the warning. Once you start to see the dark thread, you'll never look at the world the same again. You'll see the strings everywhere, pulling, shaping, manipulating. You'll see how easily people are controlled, how willing they are to surrender their own judgment. You'll see how you are controlled, and that realization hurts. But it's also liberation, because only when you see the strings can you start to cut them. If you keep ignoring the thread, you'll stay tied to it. You'll remain part of the machinery, scrolling, laughing, reacting, thinking you're free while the system feeds on your attention. But if you dare to cut it, to truly cut it, you'll never see the world the same again. You'll feel the silence again, you'll think again, you'll live again. The herd will mock you for it. They'll call you dramatic, paranoid, cynical. Let them. The mockery of the asleep is proof you're awake. Most people don't want freedom, they want comfort. They'd rather stay tied than face the emptiness of independence. But you're not most people. You've listened this far because something in you is still alive, still hungry. That spark that knows you were meant for more than passive consumption. That voice that whispers, there has to be more than this. And there is. You just have to choose it. This is your moment. Your line in the sand. Continue as you are, and the strings will keep tightening, or take the first step toward cutting them, and begin the work of becoming an individual again. Click the link. Read the book. Start the process. $10 for the only thing that still matters. Your mind. Because the death of critical thinking won't announce itself. It will come quietly. One distraction, one indulgence, one laugh at a time. Until you're too numb to notice you've stopped thinking altogether. So tell me in the comments, do you think critical thinking is dead? Or is there still hope for those willing to wake up? The choice is yours. Cut the thread, or stay tied forever.